I suppose I'll be better go out and get a haircut one of these days. It's getting a little out of hand with this COVID. No barbers around. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. What will people think of me? Do you know, the colour of my hair, I was never expecting this. I'm going to have to do something about it. There's a shortage of barbers around, like there was a shortage of barbers around many years ago in Ireland. Yeah, a long time ago there was a king in Ireland. He had a pair of donkey's ears. He had the king and queen, when they had a baby, they were in shock when they saw the baby there with a little pair of donkey's ears on it. They didn't know what to do, they were embarrassed, so they just always sort of hid the child's ears from the world. That little prince started wearing a crown, and as he was growing up they had to make that crown bigger and bigger to hide the pair of ears that the king's son was wearing. Oh, indeed, that king, of course, his time had come and the prince became king himself. Yes, the king, well, he had a big crown, bigger than my crown, of course, to hide his ears. And he lived in with the secret that nobody ever saw his ears. And every now and again, of course, he would have to get a haircut. And when he'd have to get a haircut, he'd go out and get a local barber from the area. And when a barber would come and cut the king's hair, he'd remove his crown. And the barber would be in shock, and he'd give the king a haircut. And as soon as he gave him a haircut, the guards came in and took the barber off down to the dungeons. So he would never go out and be able to tell anybody the king's secret. Well, the king kept his secret for a long time, and year after year he would have the barber come and cut his hair, and those barbers, they never returned. So there was a big shortage of barbers around. And then one day the king needed a haircut, and they sent out an entourage out into the countryside looking for a barber. There was only one barber remaining. One barber, yes, the son of a widow, this lovely dear woman. He was her pride and joy. He did everything around the house and garden, and he always brought in the couple of shillings or the trade of some food for his work as a barber. And the entourage showed up at his house and said to the widow, "We need your son to come with us. The king needs a haircut, and he's the only barber around." And she says, "Please, you cannot take my son. He's my only pride and joy. I could not live without him, please, because I know any barber that has ever gone to the castle has never returned." And the entourage says, "Oh, there's nothing we can do about it." And she says, "Please let me speak to the king." And she went to the king and she pleaded with the king. Says, "My son, he is the only thing I've got. I cannot live without him." And the king saw how much of a beautiful human being she was and the love she had for her son, and told her that if he was able to keep a secret and it would never be told to anybody, that he would be okay, that he would let him go. And sure, the son came to the castle to cut the king's hair, and he removed the crown, and the son saw the big pair of donkey's ears. And he gave a really nice haircut to the king and started giving a real nice trim up around the ears and did a lovely job. And when he was finished, the king looked at himself in the mirror, thought it was really nice, and then turned around to the barber and sternly looked at him and says, "This you cannot tell anybody. It's a secret you have to keep forever. I want you to solemnly swear to me that you will never tell anybody this secret." And the barber swore to him that he would never tell anybody. And the king warned him. He said, "If you do, I will have your life and your mother's life with it." Oh, so the barber left carrying the king's secret. And he continued to do his barber work out in the countryside, out near his mom's house. And sure, he was starting to carry this burden. And this burden was starting to get heavy on him, that he was carrying this somebody else's secret around. He was saying, "What am I doing with this? It's causing me pain." And after time, this secret became a burden for him. And it started causing him pain in his body, and his tummy was ill, and he wasn't feeling right, and he didn't know what to do, and he was saying to his mother, he says, I have the secret, I have the king's secret, and I cannot tell anybody. It's causing me pain, I don't know what to do about it. She says, tell me, son, tell me. And he says, I cannot, I swore to the king that I would not tell anybody. What should I do? She looked at him and she says, oh, go see Shan Ban, the old wise woman, the healer in the woods. Go see her. And off he went into the woods, and he went down into the woods, and there was a small little house down this pathway, and he started walking down to the house. As he walked down, there's this old dear little woman waiting for him at the door. And she says, oh, I saw you coming from afar. I saw you coming, and I saw you coming with such a burden on you. No, I see the burden is you are carrying a secret that you cannot tell anybody. And he could not believe that the old Shan Ban, the old wise woman, already knew what was troubling him. And he says, what should I do, healer? What should I do, Shan Ban? What should I do? She says, I want you to go to the Cran Woods. She says, go down into the woods and find a tree, and you will tell your secret to the tree. So off to the woods he went. He went off down deep into the woods, and he looked around at all the trees, and then he stopped for a while. And he stopped in one place, and he started looking around at all the trees in the woods, and there one tree stood out like no other. And when he started going towards it, it looked like it was the only tree in the forest. And he went over to it, and he put his hands on it. He says, oh, tree, please, tree, I have something to tell you. Please, can you take my secret? And everything felt okay. He said to the tree, he says, the king has donkey's ears. The king has donkey's ears. The king has donkey's ears. Has anybody else heard? Oh, well, sure enough, all of a sudden he felt the knees coming off his shoulders, and the weight ran off of him like water. And he felt really relaxed, and he stood up. And he felt good. He felt he wasn't carrying the burden and the king's secret anymore. So he thanked the tree. He says, thank you, tree, for taking my secret. And he left that place and went back to his widow mom and started cutting hair. And about so many months later, there was this bard that was coming by. And this bard was carrying an ancient harp, the ancient harp of Ireland, that played 3 types of magical music. It played gauntries to bring sorrow from the heart, gantries that you dance wildly to, and soothries to quieten the mind. And he was bringing along this old harp, and it had a little crack on it from ancient times. And he looked for years upon years to find a piece for this harp, to fix this harp. And he looked upon everywhere as he went along for a few years, and he came along to the woods, and he was walking down along the woods, heading to the castle for the Lughnasa Fair. And he stopped in the woods, and he stopped in one place. And he looked around in the woods, and he looked at all the trees. And there was one standing out there like it was the only tree in the forest. And he walked towards that. And he walked up, and there was a grand old oak, and he put his 2 hands on it and says, oh, Grandmother Oak, you have such beauty. Here you are rooted into the earth, standing in the place of your ancestors, and you shelter all of us with your great big limbs, and there your branches grow out into the heavens to touch the future and the stars above. Oh, great tree, I honor you for being here. And he rested with the tree for a while. Then he asked the tree, he says, oh, tree, I need a piece for my harp. And as he walked around the tree, a burl grew out of the side of it. And all of a sudden he saw it just being part of the harp, and he said, is it possible that I can take the burl from the tree to fix my harp, the ancient harp of Ireland that plays the 3 magical musics? And the tree gave him permission. And he went and he worked and took it off, and he started shaping it and putting it on, and he put it on the front head of the harp. And it was looking beautiful. And he says, I better get off to Lunas Affairs at the castle, the big celebration. Well, when he got to the castle, there was a great celebration. Lunasa, August the 1st, the berries from the fruits of the forest, the feast of the fattened calves from the land. And there was roast pigs, and there was tunes and music going on, and everybody was feasting and had a grand big meal. And after the meal they were settled, the king rose up with his big crown on his head. And he says, we have a special guest, the bard, tonight. And he is going to play from us from the great magical harp of Ireland. And the bard came up. And first the bard started playing a tune. He started playing a very soft and sad and lonely tune. And when each string was pulled, he pulled on the strings of each person's heart. And in that heart there was some pain, and in that pain there was some sorrow. And with the tune the sorrow came, and tears came to their eyes, for he was playing a gauntry. Oh, the harp brought all the sorrow from the people, and as they there, thinking of their hearts and sorrows, then the harpist, the bard, he changed his tune. Indeed, he changed his tune, and he played a Suftri that softened the mind. And with that peace of mind came all the sorrows with the hearts that belonged to everybody. And they found peace in themselves, that it was their own. And his music continued, and they all sat in a soft and peaceful place. And then the bard again changed his tune to play a gantry, a lively tune, and he started strumming his instrument. And as soon as he did, the song came from it, and it started singing, the king has donkey's ears, the king has donkey's ears, the king has donkey's ears, and we should all know together. The king has donkey's ears, the king has donkey's ears, the king has donkey's ears, and we should celebrate together. Well, first of all, everybody stopped and stared out, wondering what it was saying, and the next thing somebody started giggling, and the next table somebody started laughing, and before long the whole room started laughing, and there the king sat in complete embarrassment in his big crown on the top of his head. And he looked out, and when he looked out, what did he see but all the people of his kingdom laughing in joy and harmony with the song that's being sung. And what did he started doing? But he started laughing himself. He started laughing. He's saying, give way to the king has donkey's ears, the king has donkey's ears, and we're all here together. And the king has donkey's ears, the king has donkey's ears, and we're all here together. Well, everybody got up and danced and sang, and he took off that crown that night with his donkey's ears, and he swung around with all the people of the land of the kingdom. And the barber came in, and he swung around with the king, and there was great joy in their each other's eyes. And from that day on, the king with donkey's ears never took a barber's life. And from that day on, the dungeons were open. And for 20 long years, barbers that had been locked away in the dungeons to keep the king's secret were released into the hills and lands. And that was the last time there was a shortage of barbers in Ireland. And from those days of the kings, everybody started getting their hair cut short. And that's the story of the barbers long ago in Ireland. And now I must go back under my head of hair and wonder where I will find one. Oh, or maybe I only have a pair of donkey's ears. Oh, where's the barber to give me a trim and make me look young again? Where's the old barber?